There are some very specific things to know about the Precious Scars and its buff. The buff itself, honestly, not too good. However, there are few, and I mean very few ways that the buff that it got is gonna shine. And there's also a couple things I don't think are working correctly as well, and I'm gonna cover those, but I wanna be clear here on how I reviewed Precious Scars for this video. It's an updated review, because things change. To understand where you are, you need to understand where you came from, and there were reasons why Precious Scars weren't used. But I think as of today, this sandbox, this meta, Precious Scars can shine. The whole goal today is to learn about it and apply it if you would like. And I originally gave this thing a bad review. And I said in that review that at the current time in that sandbox, it's bad. You can't do anything. And when I reviewed it, it was kind of like how it was right now. There were no Grandmasters out, no real higher end PvE things to do at that point in the season, but there was Trials. And in Trials of Osiris, when it first launched, Stasis was in full force. I'm talking full-blown Shatter Dive, full force Duskfield, full force slow, Durance lasted longer, Shurikens did more damage, there was the dodge slow Shuriken freeze combination, then Shatter Dive. That really deflated the overall consensus of Precious Scars. It put a bad taste in players' mouths about the capabilities and usefulness of it. No matter what you did, it was still hard countered, it was near worthless, and I, like many of you, just shelved them, never put them back on. But now, as I started with, things have changed. The sandbox has changed, more things have been added to Stasis, things have been taken away from Stasis. And the exotic itself at base can do good, and it can do really well when adding some things to your build. And Precious Scars to me finally translates to what I believed it could be from paper to in-game. It's a worthy pick for certain things. I used it for over 8 hours in the newly revamped Trials playlist over the weekend, day 1, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. The exotic perk is Kenzugi. Final blows from weapons with a damage type matching your subclass energy create a burst of healing around you. After reviving or being revived, you gain an aura that provides overshields to you and your allies. The new part is the final blows from matching weapons to subclass create a burst of healing around you. Let's look into that. And how this works, or is supposed to work, is that you're going to create a burst of healing and bonus recovery around you whenever you kill an enemy with a weapon that matches your subclass type. And here's what it's doing. I then want to talk about the possible things going on with it. As it currently sits, from what I see, is that when you get a final blow matching your subclass, the text healing ×2 goes on the screen. You only see the actual benefit of this perk when your shield is broken in red health. If you're not in red health, you aren't going to see anything. You're not going to get a health bump, nothing. And I somewhat have an issue with how that works. If you get a final blow while in red health, you're going to see a health chunk go up. It's going to go right to the end of the red bar, and that red bar is your shield line. So that's a somewhat fast, small burst to your health and recovery. That part does work. However, once it does that, it's over because your base recovery takes over. If you have 4 recovery, it's going to go back slowly. If you have 6, all the way up to 10. In the heat of battle, it's near negligible. It really is, because no matter what you do, if you do get that perk to proc, you're still one shot. And honestly, you have to really be paying attention to it working. I couldn't find one time where the perk saved me. I couldn't find one time where the perk was assertively impactful, and that's a shame. So this is that window, and this is what it gives. That's it. I would go on streaks, then I would look back at the streaks, and really, that's really all it's doing. It's just giving me that bump. I'm still essentially one shot. Someone can just come melee me and down me, and whatever my recovery is, that's what takes over. Now, recovery-wise, there's a huge difference compared to something like with what the new Graviton buff does for recovery, so it's not really substantial or too good. But another thing to note, that burst of healing, this does the same for your allies. So even though, let's say I'm getting kills and they don't break my shield, again, the healing ×2 comes up. If I have allies around me that are in red health, their shields are broken, they're gonna get this little bump. So yeah, it could help. This reaches out 15 meters. Overall, it isn't like OEM. It isn't even like Crest of Alpha Lupi. The Crest does way more on the health front. What it closely resembles is Mask of the Quiet One, and it actually might even be the same thing as what the Mask does. As it stands, it only works and has benefits if you're in red health. Maybe there's a possibility that it isn't giving health past shields, and it should be. And honestly, I would like to see a little health bump on kills, maybe 10 health, 15 health, nothing major, just a little bit as you get kills going. Where this part can shine, as is something like the attrition modifier in PvE. Maybe you're doing some harder content with or without a team. That modifier is your health and shield regenerate much more slowly than usual. If you hit red health with that modifier, it takes forever to get it back, and you need to go out and pick up a pool to get it back to where it was. Well, you could be getting kills with a weapon matching your subclass and giving you all that recovery to your actual recovery stat to kind of bypass that. And with a team, you're going to be sharing that with them too. It can work well with the attrition modifier. Now, looking at what Precious Scars wants you to do, it wants you to be close, be the front line, revive, give some health. I would have really liked to see something similar to what what the stag gives you. And with the stag, remember when your shields are broke, you get about 60 to 70% of your rift back. It's very good. I would love for that to work with the melee charge on the Titan. It gives you a reason to punch it, gives you a reason to put yourself in harm's way to go for the revive. Because with something like Top Tree Sentinel, it means you can hero that melee overshield. Maybe you're pushing in for a revive, your shields get broke, but it tops off your melee energy, you get the melee final blow, get your overshield, get your teammate up. That would be great, but as it currently is with this little health bump with weapons, not beneficial enough to even notice. The second part though, and the current sandbox is viable. At base, when you get revived, there's a 52 to 53 health overshield at base. Everyone has it. It goes to the person being revived and the person doing the reviving. Once it's up, depending on your resilience level, you're sitting at around total 240 to 250 total health with that shield added. That thing falls off in a couple of seconds, and you just go back to your regular health with resilience. With Precious Scars, if you revive or being revived, you create an overshield aura for your team. Once it's up, you tether to each other. Max of 15 meters, so you can be mobile with that overshield. It lasts for 10 seconds. Once your shield is knocked off, the aura is gone. The shield that Precious Scars gives is 100 extra health, 100 overshield. And on Titan, this stacks with the regular revive shield, meaning you have near 350 total health. That's substantial. Say your max resilience or near it, 200 base health, you get 100 from Scars and 50 from that base revive shield. However, on the person being revived, and I think something's going on with it, because the Titan, it can survive 3 melees. You see that it has 50 or so health left after the 3 melees, but the other players, they can't survive the 3 melees once rezzed. And I think that might be a stealth nerf or an unintended change, because it looks like the revived player is only getting the Precious Scar shield, not the other 50 base revive shield. And in the end, that extra 50 is very important. I'm gonna talk about it in a second. But I question, like, why would the Titan get both shields and the other allies not? I don't know, but I do hope that they push the total 150 overshield to the revived player as well, because the 50 falls off after a couple seconds, everyone keeps the 100. And here's why that's important. In Trials of Osiris, when someone goes down, there can be a dive by the enemy team. Teams dive on the body that they downed, because it's a 3v2, you rush it. The only thing that can give you issues in close quarters is going to be shatter dive fissures or adaptive high impact snipers at range or linear fusions when you're revived with this shield. With this sandbox, you're actually able to use this exotic, because when you think about it, you hero that revive. Once you get that player up, that overshield expands to all 3 players. Your team can now dive other players, because what I want you to think about is the big picture team versus team. When you dive or you're being dived on, with this overshield, the Titan's getting 150, the other 2 players are getting 100. Your team has 350 total extra health for 10 seconds. Think about Apex fights, shield fights, or in other games. With this shield, if you get a res on a teammate, your team should be flying to get a reaction pick, really. You have a ton of health. I'm gonna bring up what I said earlier about being revived. The 50 extra shield would push your total team to 400 total. The Titan and the person being revived would each have 150, and then the third player would have 100. So right now, it's amazing. It really is. And since Stasis is toned way down, it can and will shine. It will clutch rounds. And the same thing goes if someone picks your team and is diving you. It's one thing if they leave the res alone and you're able to get the revive easily, because you guys can regroup, you have 10 seconds to push if you want to. But if a teammate goes down and another team's flying in on you, and they're gonna do that as a 3v2, if you do secure that res, they're gonna be guns ablazing with their shotguns and abilities, jumping right into those overshields. It can and will flip that fight. So if you're going against a Precious Scars Titan, you better not let them revive or be revived. Because if you do, they do have that 10-second window to hunt you down. That's where it shines, seriously. Try it for a card on your team, it's brutal. To go further with Stasis, say you're running triple Stasis, a Behemoth with Scars, a Shadebinder with Stag, and a Revenant Hunter. When someone goes down on your team, you can Glacier block off the enemy, block off their line of sight, get them up, and if everyone on your team has Whisper of Chains, since you're next to that crystal, everyone is getting 25% damage reduction. When you get them up, you have 25% DR and 350 total extra team health. If it was the Stag that went down, that has their Rift that gives DR, that is 35% damage reduction to you guys in that area with everyone having overshields. That can't be dive. That survives things like chaperone headshot melee beatdowns. That survives anything close quarters with abilities. People will be rushing in with their shotguns and abilities. You have that 35% DR and overshields. They're in big trouble. I've been really enjoying it. And which, by the way, the Stasis weapons do proc the first part of the buff, giving that little bump to recovery and health. It is something not used right now. I don't see anybody using it, but I think it's because of that bad taste in their mouth. Like, it wasn't good when it came out, but there was a reason for that. It's okay to pull it out now and use it. I encourage you Titans to try it out on your next card, and you solo players, since Trials is open up to solo queue. Maybe you don't know what to use. Maybe you're not really a good aggressive Dune player. This can help your solo team win rounds. You can play that medic role, play that front line. There are roles to be played. Yes, the Dunes are great for offense, but this is S tier for defense. And once you get the shield up, it's S tier for offense. It's great. It is working and doing what it's supposed to do on that revive front extremely well. So even though the new buff isn't great, the sandbox changed, and it now has the opportunity to clutch and do what it was supposed to do originally. It's going to be up to you to throw it on and see what it's all about. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. If you're looking for a new controller, I am partnered with Scuff Gaming. Use the link down below and my code COOL at checkout for a discount. Let's talk about Precious Scars. Have you tried it in Trials yet? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.